Heather Conlon, and I'm a past president of the Confederation of University Women, Southport, and I'm your facilitator for this evening. CFUW Southport is a nonpartisan, voluntary, self-funded organization of women from all backgrounds, stages of life, educational levels, which means no degree or diploma is required. We offer opportunities to make new friends, provide intellectual stimulation, fellowship, active participation in public affairs, locally, provincially, and nationally. We will start the evening with our land acknowledgement. We are meeting on the traditional lands, waters, and territories of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of the three fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, whose boundaries include Goderich in the south, the tip of the Bruce Peninsula in the north, and the Nottawasaga River in the east. We do this as part of our work toward reconciliation with the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation and the Chippewas of the Nawash unceded First Nation, now known collectively as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. We do this as we move forward with them to put into action the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. We also recognize the contributions of the Métis Nation of Ontario, whose history and people are well represented in Bruce and Grey counties. I'd like to introduce our moderator for the evening. It's Odette Bartnicki, who's on my right. She is the current president of CFUW Southport. Our timers this evening are Cheryl Krzyzewski, who's sitting right in front of me, and Sandy Kramer. Both are Southport members. Our sound technician in the back is Mike Grace. Our greeters this evening have been Pat Dobeck, Gabrielle DiFrancesco, Leanne Johnson, Colleen Morgenroth, Dee Schilling, and Catherine Tolton, all members of CFUW Southport. The format for this evening is a town hall, which means a question is posed and answered, but not debated. If you desire a clarification, more information, or further discussion, we encourage you to reach out to the candidates. It will be very important for candidates and questioners to stick to the timelines to be outlined in order to give as much time for the audience to ask questions and for submitted questions to be answered. I would like to remind everyone that Eastlink is providing live coverage to their customers as well as recording for future use. Also, we have a Saugeen Senior School student, Monty, recording the meeting as well. If you want to wave, he's right behind me, right against, almost in the corner, but not quite. Please be sure that you turn off your technology, make sure that it's silence, please. In fact, I'm not even sure mine is as I say that to you. So when I go and sit down, I'm going to go check mine. And if it starts to ring, it sounds like a cricket. You'll know it's me. The evening is divided into three parts. The first, all acclaimed representatives, candidates running for council, and trustees will have 1 minute to speak. Next will be our question period. Audience members asking questions will have 30 seconds to ask a question, and candidates responding will have a minute. Questions and answers will need to be concise and precise. Our moderator will review the timing and expectations of this portion of the evening before it begins. Third, there will be final statements from the candidates and trustees. They will have 1 minute each during the summation. So let us begin with our introductory statements. Acclaimed representatives, candidates, trustees, you have 1 minute to introduce yourself and make an opening statement. A yellow card will indicate 15 seconds. A red card will indicate time is up. Well, really, I should say it will indicate 30 seconds, and then at the minute time, you will be up. Let me finish. So we're going to begin with our acclaimed council members, starting with Mayor Luke Charbonneau, moving on to Vice Deputy Mayor Mike Myatt, John Davinsky, and Cheryl Grace from Southampton Ward, so I will not come to the mic again until you are all finished.
Good evening. It is an honor to have been acclaimed and to have the privilege to serve as Mayor of Saugeen Shores for the next 4 years. I'm looking forward to leading our community as we work to help those who are most in need of affordable housing by doubling the number of rental apartment units in our community and by enhancing regional rent subsidies. I'm eager to start building a new indoor aquatic center in 2023. I want to implement new measures to reduce waste going into our landfill and to enhance tree cover in our community. I intend to lead in a way that looks to the future with ambition, positioning our community and our region at the innovative heart of clean energy production in Canada. I understand how a united team on council can rise to any challenge and achieve great things for our community. And so I am excited to have this chance to lead our next council and seize every opportunity to enhance the quality of life for everyone in Saugeen Shores. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Mike Myatt. This past 4 years I had the opportunity to chair the Attainable Housing Task Force. Some progress has been made with addressing our housing needs, but there's a lot more to be done. And I will not rest until we help those with affordable and attainable housing needs. I had the good fortune to co-chair the Phase 2 of the Lamont Sports Park fundraising campaign. Lamont Sports Park is going to be the finest outdoor recreation facility in all of southwestern Ontario. I've been a strong advocate for the replacement of our 50-year-old pool facility. We will be swimming in our new pool in January 2025. To the soon-to-be elected council members, please, let's work together as a team, not in silos, but as a team. And let's not only finish what the current council has started, but also let's complete a heritage and cultural study and consider the best options for capital upgrades to Southampton Town Hall. We must ensure our community is kept safe, environmentally friendly, and accessible. I look forward to serving as your Vice Deputy Mayor for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm John Davinsky. Several things to talk about, very quickly though. I know people are concerned about the cost of living. We have to broaden the tax base with more development. We have to understand that your taxes are not going down unless something magical happens. But every effort will be made to keep any tax increase at a reasonable level without losing any services. Development, controlled development with an eye to environmental impact. Need to be sure we don't pillage the land for buildings at the expense of our tree canopy. CCV, yes. Recreation, great things have happened. Lamont Sports Park and of course the Aquatic Center. Southampton Ward, plan development to maintain character of the ward, create a cultural hub, and complete the downtown Southampton streetscape project during this term. Thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Cheryl Grace. My top priorities for the next term are the environment, affordable housing, and protecting our cultural heritage. This year, Council advanced environmental recommendations into the 2023 budget, including creating a climate action plan, improving waste reduction and diversion, and advancing an urban tree canopy plan. I'm also looking forward to working on initiatives to protect our cultural heritage, a cultural and heritage master plan, and a cottage area street study to protect the character of our traditional neighborhoods. On affordable housing, I'll work to support and add to our current policies such as more additional residential units, our Affordable Housing Reserve Fund, finding surplus town lands for affordable housing, and advancing the addition of rental units. I look forward to continuing our hard work on behalf of Southampton and Saugeen Shores.
We'll move on now to our candidates for council, starting with Deputy Mayor. deputy mayors, Matt Carr, Diane Huber, and Don Matheson in that order.
Thank you and good evening, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I am Matt Carr. I'm seeking the position of Deputy Mayor. I've served as Saugeen Ward Councillor for the past 4 years. Over the past 4 years, I've had the opportunity to serve on such committees as the Rail Trail, the Airport, the County Road 25 Outflow Project, as well as the Heritage Committee, Community Emergency Management Committee, and as well as the Community of Adjustment. I am a lifetime resident of Saugeen Shores and a single father of 2 children, Ella and Emmett. I am a small business owner and have operated Cars Customizing for over 20 years. I've been a volunteer firefighter with the town of Saugeen Shores for the past 22 years and currently in the role of captain. I take great pride in this organization and am actively involved in several training opportunities as well as community safety initiatives and junior fire program. Saugeen Shores has been designated one of the fastest growing and prosperous communities in Bruce County, and Council must address the needs that come with that fast growth. I am confident that I will continue to listen to the residents and make decisions that will ensure and meet the needs and continue to be proud of the town that we live and grow in. Oh, sorry, thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Diane Huber. Thank you for being here. Many of you will know that I have served on council before, 3 terms as a matter of fact. And a lot of you have asked me, why am I running again? Well, as I look around, all of you are here for the same reason that I'm running. We've all invested financially and emotionally and in other ways in the future of Saugeen Shores. We all value certain things that are here. We all want certain things to be here, and you got to put it all together. So I'm happy to put my name forward again, to represent a voice on council that respects the small town character, that we all want to be here, but we also know that change is bringing something different. I think that we can value what we have and respect what we have, and also take into account the change and have it enhance the legacy. So I look forward to your questions, and thank you for being here.
I'm going to ask all the people that are standing there to move to that side where there is lots of standing room, because the Eastlink equipment is set up behind you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Don Matheson. 4 years ago, I campaigned and asked you to support me and my vision for Saugeen Shores. I believe we needed to control growth and development. We needed to improve our recreational facilities and programs, and most importantly, we needed to address the issue of housing in our community. All of this while still managing our finances and bringing forth responsible budgets. You agreed. You elected me as your deputy mayor, and I thank you. Now, 4 years later, I am again asking for your support. We've accomplished much in the last 4 years, but there's more that we need to do. Where most people see problems, I see opportunities. I want to work with you again as your deputy mayor to ensure we complete all the fantastic projects that we've started. As we grow, you need a deputy mayor who will help manage growth, not suppress it. A deputy mayor who represents the entire community. A deputy mayor who is approachable and listens. A deputy mayor with experience and one who is not afraid to make the difficult decisions. Working together, we can make an already strong community even better. Thank you.
We're going to move on to the Port Elgin ward, but first I'd like to let you know that Katie Rice had to withdraw today because she has COVID. So I know she's very disappointed, but she did send a statement that I'm going to read, and then we'll move on to the candidates for the ward. I'm very sorry I cannot be in attendance tonight. Although I had my 4th COVID shot last week, I tested positive for COVID yesterday, and I'm very symptomatic at this time. All the candidates running for Port Elgin Ward Councillor are excellent options. What I offer is a unique perspective. I'm a young working mother with a blue-collar job. I'm also fresh out of the low-income bracket. I bring an eye of caution when it comes to spending and great hope for the future. I am running on a platform of responsible governance and affordability, which means balancing priorities and being fiscally responsive, developing rules and regulations for town planning and development, and budgeting for infrastructure upgrades. Affordable housing services and recreation programs are all important to those living in the working class and serving this community. Thank you and have a good night. So Vida Halpin and then Diane Majok, Rachel Stack.
Hi, I'm Bud Halpin, and I believe in progress and preservation. We can have growth, but we must protect the natural beauty that draws us here. I am passionate about protecting our natural assets and town character. Any solution to our affordable housing crisis will be a local community solution. I propose building perpetually affordable townhomes in partnership with Habitat for Humanity. We have the land, we have a willing partner, and we have a supportive community, and together we can improve housing in Saugeen Shores. I have 2 terms of municipal experience focused on public works, water services, and infrastructure. I have 10 years of experience as a tourist operator here in Port Elgin.
Priorities if you are elected trustee.
As trustee, I would like to show my face at events. I would like to be present. I would like to get to know the parents, get to know the students, and then when you're getting to know them, that's when you see the needs and the concerns and even the great stuff that's going on. And I would like to bring that back to the boardroom. And if there are changes that need to be made, I want to be part of that too. So with me, it would be to be present and to show up. I've already attended a parent council meeting. I got to know them because I only have one school, and yet my area is quite wide. It goes all the way up to Tobermory. I want to represent those people also. I've had questions from people from all over the place on my email. But that's my thing, is to make my face known and to know that I'm there for them. Thank you.
Members of the audience, is there anybody that would like to pose a question to the trustees? Please approach the mic. Sorry? Not the trustees. Okay. Any for trustees? Okay, please approach the mic, and to whom, let us know to whom you would like to direct your question.
I would have liked to address it to everybody, but I'll pick Dave Mayette, and if the others could nod along in agreement or shake their head no, that would be awesome, because it'll help me make the decision. So we just demonstrated that a candidate couldn't be here as she had COVID. And then another one. One of them proudly announced that they recently had their 4th jab. This alone proved there is no reason to ever accept another mandate over this. Who here will advocate for our basic human right to bodily autonomy without discrimination? You speak of new facilities, they need to be accessible to all of us without prejudice or discrimination. Can I count on you? Dave Mayette.
Thank you for the question. What's your name?
Kelly.
Kelly. Thanks, Kelly, for the question. We've just come through 2.5 years of this pandemic, and quite frankly, we've learned a lot, and we've had to make up rules, we've had to adapt, we've had to pivot, we've had to endure isolation. Nobody enjoyed it. The mandates, mask mandates, I see a lot of people wearing masks, and congratulations to those that do. Vaccines have come out, and vaccines is the only way that we've been able to achieve some sort of normalcy in our society here. And Saugeen Shores came through very well. And they did it because people did adhere to the mandates, and people did get vaccinated when they needed to. And for those that chose not to, that is also your choice. Unfortunately, those choices came with some consequences. Those consequences were largely by senior levels of government, but I supported those mandates, and I support us getting through this and us all having a healthy society to live it together. Thank you.
Could we please have Justin Duhane approach the podium?
With regard to your question there, since March 2020, I had to show up to work. I'm an authorized nuclear operator at Bruce Power, so that involved making sure that we were all working safely together as a crew. I work in the main control room at Bruce B to make sure that we were able to generate electricity, mostly to power hospitals during the pandemic. I know it's been a long 2.5 years. I'm not fully aware of everything that the Saugeen Shores implemented. I know what the province and the federal government did. I got vaccinated. If people wanted to not get vaccinated, that's their choice. But I think now it's time we know more about everything, so we should move forward and move forward. We know a lot more about COVID, more vaccine knowledge, and there's new vaccines coming. If you want to get them, that's great, and I do respect your decision if you don't want to get vaccinated. Thanks.
Thank you. Kimberly Ennis Peterson, please.
So to answer your question, Kelly, I am pro-vaccine choice. Choosing to vaccinate is a very personal decision which requires considerable thought, just like any medical procedure that carries risk. The Grey Bruce Public Health Unit encourages us to accept COVID as endemic and learn to live with it. As a regulated professional, I have a legal and ethical duty to understand and enact all provincial regulations, including the Reopening of Ontario Act, the Occupational Health and Safety Act, Employment Standards Act, Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, and the Ontario Human Rights Code. It's important to my professional integrity that I show due consideration of all regulations and legislation, as well as to anybody who's protected under those pieces of legislation. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. I don't know how to turn that off. I'm going to address the next question to our 3 deputy mayoral candidates. As Saugeen Shores is the fastest growing municipality in Ontario, how would you ensure that the current ratio of green space, parkland, beaches, and tree canopy is maintained or increased over time to maintain the existing character of Port Elgin and Southampton? And I will ask for Matt Carr to come up first, please, followed by Diane Huber and Don Matheson.
Thank you for the question. I guess I can say I've supported all along in the last 4 years. I definitely come from the blue collar. I've learned a lot through policies and procedures that regulate the way we move through these procedures. I think that we as a council over the last 4 years have shown that we've taken a high degree of interest in that, especially when it comes to developments of new subdivisions. We're ensuring that the green space is allotted for. Sometimes when the green space isn't allotted for, we do take cash in lieu of that will hopefully support generation of a better park down the road further on. I guess more than anything, I guess through the commercial development that we've seen, I know this council and hopefully the next council will stay with that 30% mandate that we've definitely been seeing to make sure we keep that green space in the commercial development. And as well, when we see the development happening in the Saugeen ward, which I'm currently representing, I definitely want to protect that agricultural land. And if we can slow some of that development up there and keep it in our high density areas, that's where I'd like to see it.
Thank you.
Very important to maintain what's already here. It's very important to improve upon it too. It's time that the Parks and Trails Master Plan gets reviewed again so that the parks part gets to shine. The trails aspect of the Parks and Trails Master Plan resulted in a lot of trails being added and enhancements in that whole area. The park side hasn't really had its chance to shine. We need to give that its chance, and we also need to work with developers who understand, I think for the most part, that it's a win-win-win when we get the green space, when we get beautiful streetscapes, that we have access to corridors and places where there's now lots of buildings or where buildings will be. People need that outside space to give them what we all believe, I hope, is valuable here, which is the small town character. I certainly respect trees a great deal, and I don't understand why we cut down a lot of trees, but we need to make sure that more trees get planted everywhere in the community and that we hold on to what's already here. Thank you.
The problem with being the third person is the first two have taken all the good points. Council in the last 4 years has worked very hard to maintain our green spaces. We've worked hard on development. We work with the county when new developments do come. We have public open houses for people to come and be able to express their thoughts on what we are doing in development. Our recreation and trails and parks, we just upgraded most of our parks in town and it's ongoing. As Councilor Carr has mentioned, we do take cash and lose sometimes, but we are now working towards building those green spaces because as we move out from Devonshire out, there are no playground spaces and those houses are going to be populated by kids and parents and adults. We need play space for everybody. So that's what we want to work on, that's what we need to continue to work on, and that's what I want to continue to work on. Thank you.
We have a gentleman at the mic on this side. It's you. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm Dan Frank from Port Elgin. This is directed to Councillor Jakes. What can you suggest to heal the social division and acrimony that has been created by the controversial Cedar Crescent Village development over the past 3 years?
Well, it's a complicated question and it's a simple question. It's not the first time that there's been a controversial topic or project within the town of Saugeen Shores or the town of Port Elgin. I think it goes back to looking at what happened, what worked and what didn't work, and looking forward and working with individuals in an open and communicative manner, in a positive manner. I think the passion and the research that was done by the Beechers should be applauded. I like the fact that they were able to come to council and make a public statement. I like the fact that they were able to make their views known across social media. So I think we can learn a great deal as councillors from that. And I look forward to working and listening to all groups that advocate for their projects and what they think is important. That is part of why we're here, is to listen, and the other part is to make decisions that are good for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Minnie. We'll go backwards on this one and we'll go to Rachel Stack on the same question. Mr. Frank, could you read the question again, please?
What can you suggest to heal the social division and acrimony created by the controversial Cedar Crescent Village development over the past 3 years?
So great question. So I've had an opportunity to speak with both members of beach preservers as well as representatives of the CCB. And what I think we need to do, if the opportunity arises, is really to try and allow people to get back in the room and try to bring folks together and talk respectfully about what our key concerns are from both sides. Recognizing that at this point, the beach is going forward, the best course of action is to return to the table, speak respectfully, and see, if there's an opportunity to at least discuss what each party's key priorities are, and see if there's an opportunity. I won't stand in front of everybody and make a promise I can't keep. The beach is happening, and there's a lot of positives that can come from that development. Having said that, I recognize that it's an issue of import to a variety of folks in the community, and I think if there's an opportunity to engage in some respectful dialogue to see if there are reasonable accommodations, and I emphasize reasonable, that can be done, I think that's a great opportunity, and I would happily encourage that. But again, recognizing that the project is approved and is moving forward, I think the best course of action is to try and be respectful and get in the room and see if we can have at least a return to some dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Bud. Alden.
Okay. The CCV has been a hot topic in my neighborhood. I live right down by the beach, so I'm well aware of that. There have been compromises made on the CCV, okay? And the beach preservers, you guys are a force to be reckoned with. You're well prepared. You're a good example of grassroots democracy. Compromises have been made. The development is much smaller now. The development is off the beach back towards the street, which people wanted to see. Really, the issue with the CCV, I think, is a communication issue. I've worked on a lot of different projects with the town over the years, and with all due respect, other projects that were less consequential had a lot more public input and a lot more input into it. And I think going forward, what we need to do is just make sure that we have that dialogue, that people are feeling heard. Thank you.
Thank you, and just to make sure that we're not always leaving you last, we're going to ask Don Matherton to speak first to the next question, which is, how will you address housing issues, including attainable housing, affordable housing for young people, and appropriate housing for seniors?
This is probably one of the two hottest topics in this election in the province, actually. Affordable, attainable housing. How do we do it? How do we get it? Our council that's sitting right now has worked very, very hard. The last 4 years, we've worked with our developers, and as Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt has said, we have over 800 rental units coming on board in the next couple of years. 800. By bringing on more rental units like that, we hope to be able to bring the prices down so that young people, middle age, older people will be able to afford the residences that they need. Everybody needs to have a house. Senior housing, we work with our developers as well. It takes a good combination of council and developers to work together, but also we listen to you, the public. We have open houses. When there's the development coming, we ask for open houses, we take your feedback and we go from there. Working together with those three things, we can make this all happen.
It's a very big question. I don't think there's enough creativity in the market yet, and I keep hoping that we'll start to see some different styles of accommodation. I think we're ready for some cooperative housing. We're ready for some collaborative efforts with groups of people purchasing perhaps a larger home and converting it into apartments. I think we also need to look at how development charges have been used to encourage specific kinds of building. However, are we sure that that's getting us rental units that will be affordable and attainable for a period of time? Is that actually working? I think that development charges should be looked at in terms of individual lots as well as bigger development projects. We have a lot of vacant lots throughout the community that should have houses on them. What's holding up that process? And as somebody who owns one of those lots, I know that to do anything on my lot instantly is $20,000 of development charges. Doesn't matter what I build. That's an impediment. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Definitely a very hard topic to talk about. Myself, I definitely understand the need for affordable housing. Attainable, I definitely understand, the difference I've come to learn over the past 4 years between attainable and affordable. I understand that we're looking by ordering all these, or by approving all these future apartments and stuff that are coming in with 600 to 800 new rental units coming on, that hopefully that affordable side or that attainable side of it is going to open up more affordable of the side of it. Myself, I definitely had to do a lot of homework and looking into the affordable and attainable difference between it. Myself, I'd like to focus more on the affordable. I do realize that attainable has to happen to see that affordable come around, but the affordable housing is what this town really needs. How do we do that? I think more of it is going to be lobbying at the provincial level. From the questions that I've asked over the years, a lot of my answers came back that it was the provincial policy statement that was holding us back. With some of these incentives that the current council has put forward to this point, we're definitely putting the good foot forward. We're trying to get the affordable and attainable in town. But myself, I think it's more of the provincial policy statement that we need to look at to get us on that right path.
The next question can come from the audience, if there's anybody who would like to approach a mic.
Thank you. My name is Fred Coons. Thanks to CFUW for sponsoring tonight. Very important. My question, which I'd like to pose to everyone, but I'll pose it to Rachel Stack, I guess, is given that council has to work together as a team, aside from what you bring to the table, what quality do you value most in your colleagues when you look across the table and have to work with another councillor? What do you hope for from them?
This is an interesting question. So I think for me it's open-mindedness and a willingness to engage in dialogue. In my experience when I negotiate professionally, it's much easier when people come. Obviously you have a perspective, but you have some fluidity and you're willing to move and listen. Obviously some positions are going to be pretty cemented, but when you have colleagues and counterparties that are open-minded, willing to take feedback and really willing to adjust their positions where it's appropriate and reasonable to do so, I think that's really what you want to see in a colleague. Obviously, all the folks sitting on either side of the tables today are super engaged, really enjoy their communities and want to make sure they're doing their best. So I think from a general perspective, I can't ask for anything more than what I've said. Thank you.
Thank you. Could we please have Bud Halpin next and then Minnie Jones?
That is a good question. I've been on council before, and what I like to see in people is people that are open-minded. They're willing to listen to other ideas and listen to opposing views. I also like people that like to have a healthy debate and healthy dialogue about things. As well as a healthy debate, it also has to be a prepared debate and an educated debate. So I like to see my colleagues spend time to know that when they're at the table, they've done their homework and we can have the debate. The other thing that we have to have with council is once the debate is made, once the vote is cast and the decision has been made, then we need a council that's going to pull together and work together as a united council. We can't go back, okay? When votes are over and votes are settled, then it's time to move on. And I think that's a really important thing for council. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jakes?
Council is no different than a lot of the committees that I've been on in the last 30 years. Not always will you get what you want, and part of that being on council is being able to think outside the box or be able to not go in with a hold-held idea of what you're going to do to change the people that are sitting around the table. Understanding that everybody has their opinion, but at a certain time, we all have to come together as a team and do what's the best for the community. So I always look for people that are open-minded, that look forward to the future, and also do their homework. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll direct the next question to the Saugeen Ward candidates. And we'll start with Kimberly Harris-Peterson, go with Justin Duhane, and Dave Myatt last. And the question is, since 2017, my municipal taxes have increased by 29%. It's not my question. My income hasn't kept pace. Given the healthy state of the municipal reserve fund, isn't it time to put a cap on annual tax increases at 2 or 3% to give residents a measure of predictability and local politicians a measure of restraint? So the real question is, what is your position on property taxes? Are you in favor of putting a hold on tax increases or raising taxes to support needed services?
Okay, tough question. So recently I come to learn that the municipality is doing quite well. It's certainly flush with cash. But like other levels of government, municipalities are responsible for spending the tax dollars that's entrusted to them. That's your tax money. Municipalities do have control over the municipal portion of their tax bills and other municipal fees like water and sewer rates. Since Saugeen Shores is in a good financial position, it does make sense to ease taxpayers' inflationary burden. I better hurry up. My ideas include looking at removing the garbage bag tag program without sacrificing the 3-bag limit. Explore capping the yearly capital amounts to water and sewer reserves with a goal to reducing water and sewer rates. Work with staff to identify and reduce wasteful practices in the administration of town business. Use all the tools at our disposal to finance our debt responsibly and utilize our cash holdings. Advocate with senior levels of government for fiscally responsible policies and reduce regressive taxes.
So for property taxes, I'm committing to keep taxes below inflation, consumer price index. I know last year they went up 4.5% in 2021, and I know a lot of people did not get raises that are 4.5%. Some ideas I have will collaborate with Bruce County to eliminate any duplication in services, because around one third of the property tax bill does go to the county. We will have to be mindful that I believe town workers will deserve a raise. I know some are up for negotiation next year, and we should make sure that they don't fall behind. And also I think we need to look for savings at all levels within the municipality. That does include police, that includes administration, that includes planning, that includes parks and rec. We do have to say, is this spending absolutely necessary? And then within that savings, a lot of it will need to be invested into infrastructure, because there is a lot of aging infrastructure, sewer, water, roads, and bridges. Thank you.
I was hoping for the housing question. Oh, it's a good question, and you're absolutely right, your calculations. In 2020, our tax increase was actually zero. We kept it to a zero tax increase. And it would be my intention that we could do that again, or at least minimize the impact. Cost of living and inflation is, as we all know, a little bit out of control right now. The cost of building, the cost of adding infrastructure is going up at a rate of 9.6% per year. The way we're going to get out of this is by leveraging the growth that we're seeing in town. Every year we're adding 300 to 400 new tax bills, and we have to be able to leverage those to pay for some of the infrastructure improvements that we need. We need to be able to apply the taxes to the places that they're needed the most. We need to maximize our returns on our growing reserves that we have, and we need to be able to make those reserves grow at the same time so that we can afford some of the big infrastructure and amenity projects that we have on the bill. And by doing that, I think we can I hope that we can, and it's my intention to be responsible as possible with all of your tax dollars. Thank you.
We have two people. I believe you were first at the mic. Who would you like to direct your question to?
Don Matheson.
Okay, so that means all three of them.
That's right. And honestly, I would actually really love it if I could have an answer, possibly from all current councillors who are running again for their seats specifically.
You could readdress the same question to others, but we'll do it.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So there are a few candidates here who said that what they would like to do with council and how they'd like to work with them is having open discussion and a healthy debate and an open mind. And I'm wondering if you could give an example of a time that your mind was changed when you came to the table open-minded for a healthy debate in the last 4 years.
Thank you for the question. I know you're referring directly to the CCV. When it was first presented, it was open. We're not sure what was going to be until they did present it. When it was presented, we had open houses. Everybody that wanted to know about it came into this room and it was presented. We then had an open forum discussion with the council at this end of the table, and everybody had a chance to speak. Now, when did I have an open-minded question? Well, let's go back to the new recreation complex. I didn't want it here. But looking at what we need in the town, and the mayor always says you have to look at the wants and needs of the town, we need this recreation complex, so where I decided where I thought it best would be isn't where it's going to be. So I was open-minded, I worked with council, we decided this is the best place, this is where we want to work on it.
I was not specifically referring to the CCV, just for the record. I wanted to hear about sometimes where your mind has been open.
I'm going to ask Diane Uber to step to the mic, and could you repeat your question, please?
Yes. I guess this would work because you were on council before as well. When was a time where you came to the table with one opinion in mind and you listened to the other people at the table with you with an open mind and a healthy debate, and you had your mind changed?
It's a good question. I'm going to just veer off a bit and get back to the council table. When I was on council, and before I was on council, I was on the planning committee, and I chaired planning meetings that dealt with Walmart coming to town, that dealt with Tim Hortons coming to Southampton, that dealt with the condos at the beach, a lot of big topics that attracted a lot of attention. When I first heard your question, I was thinking about how opinions change along the way. I recently had the occasion to talk with some people who are interested in development north of the river in Southampton, and I brought up the Tim Hortons project. The Tim Hortons project started off in one way, and through community consultation and a developer really listening to members of the planning committee and the public, that project looked real different at the end. And
probably know where I've stood on the project up to this point. I can say honestly, a couple of council meetings ago, when one of the other councillors had prepared a speech and it kind of justified the reason the way they were going to vote, you know, under different circumstances, I was almost open to swinging the vote, to go the other way from where I stood on that one up to this point. So I'm definitely always open. Just because I'm against something to start doesn't mean I'm going to stay there. I'm always open to listen to others and their ideas. You know, some of the times those ideas are heard over and over again, which we are hearing, we're listening to. We can just take them only so far, unfortunately. Another quick example, I guess, is when I first got on, and I maybe was a little bit more green, was the Legacy Fund. When we had first started that, I maybe wasn't totally on board with that, but through the last 4 years, I'm definitely 100% on board on something that was created and I think is doing a great benefit to our community at this time.
I'm going to direct the next question. We're trying to spread them out a little bit. to the Saugeen Ward candidates. Are you ready? What environmental initiatives should the town of Saugeen Shores focus on? How do these environmental initiatives rate when compared to other priorities of the town? So I will ask, Kimberly Innes Peterson to come up first, please, and followed by Dave Mayette and Justin Duhigg.
I'm going to talk a little bit about agriculture. It's critical to Saugeen Shores as it is one of the main economic drivers of the local economy. My platform includes 2 key statements regarding agriculture and farming in our town. Advocating for the rights of farmers with senior levels of government and honoring the Farming and Food Production Act. We need to let local farmers do what they do best, farm and conduct farming business. One of the issues I'm concerned about is the federal government's recent announcement to curb farmers' use of nitrogen ammonia fertilizer as part of its federal carbon reduction strategy. This will have a significant impact on production and productivity. It will take income out of the hands of farmers and increase food prices and reduce the supply of food from Canada that the world has come to depend on. With rising costs and recent supply chain disruptions, the municipality has an obligation to do what we can to ensure that senior government rules don't sink our farming community. Development pressures on agriculture land is part of my concern right now.
Thanks for the question. The environment, of course, is very important, and it's very important to me as well. As the president of the Lake Huron Fishing Club and the manager of the Port Elgin Salmon Hatchery, I take great pride in the work that we do to keep our lakes and rivers as clean and full of fish as we can. One of the things that we did during the first term of council was we redirected the discharge from the Port Elgin sewage treatment plant. Instead of going across the field and into the Saugeen large body of water, we directed into the Mill Creek. It's been a bit of a pet peeve of mine for some time. I would like to see that project completed and put it back into the Saugeen River where it can be properly diluted. So the second part of that is to make sure that our drainage plans are complete. So as we do all these new developments, that we have proper drainage plans so that we don't A, flood people's properties out, and that B, we don't fill the lake full of silt and sediment, that we use the wetlands to hold as much of that and do their job and clean the water before it gets to the lake. Thank you.
Okay, for environmental priorities, I do work in the clean nuclear energy sector, so that is very important to me. We need to manage the landfill, especially with the population growth expected to be 21,000 people by 2030, 2035. We do need to encourage people to continue recycling and keep that at the Bruce Recycling Center and also expand that. For responsible development that comes with the population growth, we do need to make sure that we do have parkland with that development, as well as adequate tree cover. And in response to Kim's answer with farmland, we should try to be developing less desirable farmland. This is a tricky question because not all farmers pass down their farms, and some of them do use that as a retirement fund as well if they cannot pass down their farm. But if we can, try to develop the less desirable farmland because in Ontario there is only 5% farmland that is considered desirable. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will be directed to the Port Elgin ward candidates in this order. I'm sorry, and you've been waiting so long and so patiently. I apologize. Please go ahead.
My question is in relation to something that Ms. Pearson said about the bag tags and getting rid of them. I just am wondering how you feel you can encourage people to continue recycling, to prolong the use of our landfill, as since the tags have been implemented, our landfill lifespan has grown, and how are we going to continue to have a landfill the length of time we need it if we get rid of the bag tags and everybody just goes back to the way we were doing it before, not recycling, not composting, and with seasonal guests just throwing everything out.
You're directing that, I think my mic is gone, here it is. You're directing that to?
Well, to what Kimberly said earlier, but so to any councillor or mayor that feels that that should go away.
Let's stick with the Saugeen Ward candidates, and we will stick with Dave Mayette first.
I'm in favor of keeping the bag tags for just the reasons you outlined. It does have a positive effect. It makes people reduce, reuse, recycle. It's a simple formula, and I would not be in favor of reducing or getting rid of bag tags. I think that our Basbois recycling facility does the best job that they can. We are blessed in our community to have our own landfill site, unlike say our neighbors in Owen Sound. I see their trucks going by my road, my house every day on their way to Michigan to take their garbage, which is very expensive. We need to preserve that asset as long as we can, and the use of bag tags and recycling is the best way to do that.
Justin, you're up next.
As I touched on in my last answer, I do support the bag tag system. It is a user-based system, so the more waste you generate, the more you would pay for it. So yeah, yes to the bag tags. I think that does encourage people. I remember the old Port Elgin dump, it met its lifespan, and then they've developed Southampton, and they are doing a new addition onto Southampton. So we will need the bag tags with all the expected growth in the community moving forward. Thanks.
And Kimberly and Ms. Peterson, please.
So I don't think eliminating the bag tags is going to affect our 3-bag limit at all. I lived in Lambton County prior to moving here, and there were no bag tags there at all. But there was a bag tag, or sorry, there was a bag limit, and there was no problem there. We had a very robust composting system. In fact, there was an organic waste diversion system that was put in place that was very successful, and they even had an electricity cogeneration project using landfill methane from waste. My issue with the bag tag is that it is a progressive tax, which means that it does affect people, especially those who are living right now with any kind of inflationary pressures. And if we can alleviate those pressures from people, then I think that's a good thing.
Thank you. So we are back to asking a question to the Port Elgin Ward councillors, but listen carefully to the question because it isn't specific to Port Elgin. With the Cedar Crescent Village on Port Elgin's main beach, late night events at Beach Motel in Southampton, and a growing number of short-term rentals, will you support amendments to the noise bylaw that includes stricter parameters and enforcement? And we will start with Bud Halpern, then Rachel Stack, and then Diane, and then James.
With the new developments down there, I guess my thing is that I want to wait and see what exactly is happening. I'm not one to rush into making unnecessary regulation and additional regulation. I think that we have a current bylaw right now, and it would be my view is we see how that works right now. The other thing is I think we can get cooperation with the proponents of those establishments if we work with them as a council. You know, noise is a funny thing. When you're at the Wiz listening to a concert on the patio, it's really a great thing. Yet for the neighbors, you know, maybe not so much. And I had a cottage park and we dealt with that. We enforced our bylaw, or we enforced the town bylaw on our guests and said, hey, after this time, noise has to be reduced. And we really didn't have that big a problem of it. So in closing, I'm not rushing to make a new rule that isn't needed. And I'm believing that we can cooperate and get along and we can manage that. If you can't manage it, that's when you need to reach for more legislation. Thank you.
A personal anecdote. So I live 600 meters from the Wiz. So most nights we can hear the music. It's usually 1 or 2 nights a week for a couple of months of the year. It's very low when you actually kind of hear it. It doesn't really bother me at all. Having said that, I understand that noise is an area of particular concern, but I think I share Bud's perspective that we have to, like I said earlier on the issue of the CCB, we have to hear people's concerns, but I think until, you know, focusing on the CCB, until the structure is built and we actually understand what the economics are of the business and what kind of clientele and the type of noise and participation you're having at that particular location, as well as the beach motel. I think it's difficult to say now we need to make more restrictive bylaws. I think enforcing our bylaws, working with businesses to make sure they understand how noise can affect others is probably the best first step to try and get more collaboration, which aligns with what I've said earlier about improving relationships. And I think we do have to be careful that we don't sort of stymie business, but I understand, and if there's an opportunity to see where it goes and then make bylaws as necessary, I think that's the appropriate path forward.
As a former tourism coordinator for the town of Port Elgin and then for Saugeen Shores, I did receive noise complaints about noise on the beach. Usually it was because somebody was complaining about the beach carnivals and the kids and the noise, and then it would be about the bars, going back also well to the eddies. So it's not a new problem on Port Elgin's beach, nor is it a new problem for anybody that is in a tourist area, including Southampton. I agree with my comrades here that I want to wait to see what is going to be put in place. I do know in the past that when complaints have been made about facilities that were operating with music after 11 p.m., there was cooperation with the operation with the business. So I look forward to working with the business people and answering the complaints of the public as well.
Thank you. I'm not sure which one of you was first, so I'm going to go here and then there. Okay.
Opportunity. My name is Julian Glowacki. I'm an immigrating engineer from Montreal. I've worked here for 30 years. And I fell in love with Port Elgin and my wife here, of course. And participated in all the municipal committees and fraternal organizations. I felt that the town has grown. I fell in love with a small town
halfway
appeal.
through.
Pardon me?
15 seconds.
Okay. I have a concern that the ground has grown too big and too deep, and it's losing its small town feel. Okay, I'm just wondering what Minnie or Matheson will do to elevate this kind of phenomenon.
Okay, since you mentioned Minnie first, we will start with Minnie and then go to Rachel and Bud.
Thank you for the question, Julian. Planning is important, and part of that is making sure that we still keep an identity for our community, even though we are growing. The growth, we can't stop people from selling land, and we can't stop people from from doing developments, but what we can do, and what I have seen on council, is council take a real look at how that growth is done, from landscaping, from what it looks like from the road, what's it going to look like to the neighbors. I've only been on council since April, but I have seen a concerned effort to make sure that we have the small town feel. And that also goes down to our downtowns with Southampton, looking at the streetscape, and again, looking at the downtown Port Elgin. So it is on the radar, and we are looking at having an image for each individual community and keeping those standards of a small town.
Thank you. I could suggest maybe we lost a cinema. We're missing a dance hall. That would be great. And maybe putting more garbage bins
We're
along
going to
the
move
beach.
on right now. Thank you very
Thank you very
much.
much.
We'll go with the other candidates, please.
I feel quite popular, keep coming back up here. So I'm going to take a slightly different tact on your question and sort of ask you if you think maybe 30 years ago people would have had the same opinion of new people moving in and the way the town was changing. I think the reality is we are a changing community. We're growing, we're becoming more diverse. And so while I do think it's important to keep some of the charm and culture that Port Elgin is known for, I think we really have to focus on making this community better for everybody. And so from my perspective, it's focusing on community engagement, more events, encouraging people to interact with the newer members of the community. Because while I think it's important to recognize our heritage, we have to move forward, and focusing too much on the past comes at a cost to feeling welcome and engaged with the newer members of the community. Thanks.
You know, my motto is growth and preservation, and we are going to have growth. People are coming here and falling in love with this town for the same reason that you did. I came here 20 years ago and fell in love with this community and stayed. There's people that got here 10 years ago. There's people that got here 10 days ago. The town is going to continue to grow. What can we do to maintain that town character? Well, one of the things we can do is we can plant some more trees up and down the streets of Old Port Elgin. That's the first thing that we can do. Another thing that we can do is just make sure that we protect the assets that draw people here. Protect our beaches, keep the sand on our beaches, make our shorelines more dynamic, keep our hard shorelines like the path along to Southampton, add some vegetation to that. The town does a lot of things right. They do. The tree sale, the butterfly gardens, there's a lot of effort put into maintaining this town and keeping it going. So, I got red carded, just like when I played soccer.
Thank you. The next question will be for the deputy mayoral candidates. And it is, now that Cedar Crescent Village has been approved, would you be supportive of a similar development on Southampton Beach? Why or why not? And this time we're going to start with Diane Hoover. I think she's been in the middle all the time.
I don't think you're talking about bringing back the bowling alley. That'd be okay. We have lots of plans. We have an official plan, we have zoning bylaws, we have lots of stuff that we spent lots of time putting into place. We need to pay attention to that stuff. We can't just turn around and change the rules. The shoreline completely across the community is zoned EP, environmental protection, except for the chunk in Port Elgin that's OS1, which is the Port Elgin Main Beach area from North Shore Park to Izzard. In Southampton, there's a tiny little chunk labeled as OS, open space, on the zoning map. It is in behind Jerry's, it's where the bowling alley used to be. In my mind, that's the only potential spot where something can happen. And if you look at the zoning bylaw that we spent a lot of time creating, OS has specific things that are okay there. In order to change and have something else there, there needs to be a public process. And the process would then set up whether or not it's a go. I like the idea of a restaurant at the beach though. But at the moment, there's no way you could do it in OS1 in Southampton.
Would I like to see a development at the beach in Southampton? It would be nice. I talked to a lot of people, they said, geez, Port Elgin's getting a really nice restaurant on the beach. Why can't we have a restaurant on our beach? Jerry's Fries is going to be redeveloped in another year or so. We're building a new building there. Will it be a restaurant? No. As Diane has just mentioned, we have environmental rules that we must follow along the beach lines. You can't develop where it's not. For something to happen, it has to come to county, then it comes to the town, then we have our public input. Nothing can happen until those three things occur.
Thank you.
I guess thank you for the question, and as usual, you'll probably hear me say no, I wouldn't support that. But as I say that, I would support the process to be started. I do agree that the Southampton, Jerry's area does need some improvements. Port Elgin Beach has seen lots of improvements. Hopefully the ones that are coming are going to be a good thing for us. We've learned a lot through the process over the last 3-4 years that this has happened at the beach. I think that we've done a very good job of following the process. I know some people will want to argue with me just looking around the room already at that. But as long as we do follow the processes that we have in place and we do try to listen to the majority of the people, I think people know now that if they have more issues, more arguments against or for things, that they're going to be more vocal maybe earlier in the process, maybe when we have a better chance of affecting or sitting down to have more of those public engagement meetings.
Okay, we're going to go to the gentleman at the mic on my right.
Hi, my name is Ken Dahlbeck, and I'd like to ask a question of all the candidates, but I guess I have to target one group, so I'll go to the deputy mayor candidates. Is it fair that Port Elgin ward, which has more population than the other two wards combined, has only 2 councillor seats? And I start with Diane if possible.
Thanks for the question, Ken. Next year is 25 years. It's 25 years. It's the 25th anniversary of amalgamation. It's probably a good time to think about what we've got. The makeup of council and the size of council. And it's a good time to have that discussion. It is, if you look at the numbers, if you just think about fairness, the number of people in each ward is not the same. And definitely Port Elgin has the substantial population. In fact, it's almost twice the number of people in that ward as in the Saugeen Township ward. So there's probably a discussion that should happen. I believe it should happen at the beginning of the next term, so that if there is anything that could change or should change or the community wants to change, we do it in time before the 2026 election. But 25th anniversary of amalgamation, we got to remember why we did it, and maybe is it still working, or could we make some changes? Thank you.
I guess thanks again for the question. The ward system, I definitely hear a lot of yeas and nays, because the ward system, as it alluded to earlier, just because you live in Port Elgin doesn't mean you have to run in Port Elgin. With that comment, I do support the idea that the next council could maybe look at opening up the ward system. Do we look at the population? Do we just draw certain lines in certain areas? Or do we, this is a conversation that could be held. It could be something that could be put on, it's putting it 4 years out again, but on a future election question that could be put out to the people and ask them what they want. What do the people want to see? Do we want to go by numbers? Do we want to keep it in our wards? I do understand after 25 years almost that maybe some of that, Saugeen, Port Elgin, Southampton, it might have gone away a little bit. Maybe we could move to a ward 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. That was a good question. It's a question I hear a lot. I actually was speaking last week with former Mayor Ben Basler about this exact question. Do we need the ward system? Well, we think that Port Elgin is the largest population, and at the moment it is. But you know what the second largest population is right now? The fastest growing population in Saugeen Shores is Saugeen Township. Devonshire North is Saugeen Township. Super 8 South is Saugeen Township. So it is a very good question, and it's one that council should look at, but it also has to be a question that's put out to the people. That's a question that council cannot decide itself. So whether it's a referendum or not, people have to decide how it works. And I know that it works right now. We have good representation. People get to say and speak and be represented. We have to make sure that we continue to do that.
Thank you.
Very unusual for anything I'm a part of. We are right on time. And thank you to the audience for all of your great questions, the ones you sent in and the ones you asked tonight. Right now, we're going to give all of the candidates an additional minute. I'm sorry, not all of the candidates, not the acclaimed candidates. All of the other candidates have 1 minute to summarize for you who they are, what they're running for, and why you should vote for them. So we're going to go in the same order. We'll go for the candidates, the candidates for council, starting with Matt Carr, Diane Huber, and Don Matheson first.
Okay, thank you again. I'll try and get through this a little bit quicker. The first minute went by really quickly. If people choose to elect me as deputy mayor, I'll continue to serve and practice the way that I had been up to this point. Some of my primary areas of focus over the next 4 years, if I am elected again, I'd like to keep on working towards our healthcare in this area. Healthcare is a big issue for me. I think it's something that we need to keep on lobbying the government to help us. We've got a community that supports our healthcare system around here to no end, and we need to make sure we're the voice for them to ensure that continues. Also in that, we need to make sure that we look at the facilities that we have in Southampton for the hospital. We've been updating those. We have to look at our long-term care facilities, as we do have an aging population around here, and hopefully some of that could be looked at, tiny homes, things like that could ease some of our affordable and attainable issues. Accountability and transparency within the town. I think that that's something that this last council has been hopefully good for over the last 4 years, as well as being a small business owner in town. I'd really like to advocate for the small business owners that have been struggling for the last 3-4 years through this pandemic. Lots of businesses did not survive around here, and I'd like to be a voice for them to be around. And as well, I'd like to be a proactive voice for the environment too. Thank you.
One minute isn't a long time to talk. I look out at lots of people here. Some of you are old friends, some of you are fairly new friends, some of you are actually family members. All of us have a stake in what goes on here, and I think that more than anything else, I wish I could take the time to explain to you why that means so much to me. It also would be good to share with you my hope that a bigger Saugeen Shores gives us all more to enjoy and makes us all have good experiences here. I know a lot of little people that I hang out with that I want them to have a great place, that when they're my age, they will want to be here. They want to either live here, they want to come here all the time, and they want it to be home. I do think that there's a lot more that could be said. I have a Facebook page that has lots of comments on it. I have an email address and a phone number. Even if you just want to send me something that tells me what matters to you or what you value about the community, that's good information. I can take the criticism too. I can take the questions. I do love your comments. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
I too would like to thank everybody for coming tonight. Without you here, we're not really needed. Your thoughts, your voice is your choice. I wanted to run for council 8 years ago because when I was a youngster, I loved Saugeen Shores. I love Southampton, I love Port Elgin. I've played, represented the community, and I want to continue doing that. Not playing anymore, I'm too old for that, but now to represent you at the council seat, to ensure that Saugeen Shores grows to the vision that I remember. Bigger, but yet more inviting, safer, a place for everybody to come to. Some of the things that I want to see when we talk environmental, nobody mentioned the green bin. I think Kimberly did it a little bit, but we need to bring the green bin in. That will reduce waste in the dump. We've talked recreation, affordable housing. I've been on affordable housing kick for 2 elections, so I believe everything that I've said 4 years ago is as applicable now as it was then. So please, when you go to vote next week, remember Don Matheson. Thank you.
Progress and preservation is my motto. We live in a uniquely beautiful town. As a tourist operator, guests would often say to me, "You live here? You're so lucky." They're right. We are blessed to live here, and it's in all our best interest to preserve the natural assets that draw us here. That would be a focus for me. I understand Main Street, Saugeen Shores. I have council and municipal experience in infrastructure. I'm passionate about our parks, our trails, and our beaches. I have great ideas for youth engagement and retention. We need to keep our young people in Saugeen Shores. I have a lot of experience working with community groups, working towards our common benefit. As a councillor, I'll promise to listen, to be transparent, and to be a cooperative member of council. Visit my, card again. Thank you, everyone.
For those of you who don't know me, if you look at your local shoreline beacon in the Sun Times coming up, I'll have information in there that shows my background for the last 30 years on municipal committees, on public committees, and working to serve my community better. I've always lived to serve since the age of 15, and that's not that far ago. My mother, don't say. My background is public relations, so I really do believe that community consultation, public meetings, and dialogue are important. That will be a focus for anything that I will be going and working on. I've only been on council since April, so it's been a steep learning curve, but I would like to look at culture and heritage. I'd like to represent all ages and all incomes. I'd like to look at mental health and addiction and healthcare services for all ages. I'd also like to look at affordable housing, making sure that when it says affordable housing, it actually is 30% of someone's income before taxes. And I'd also like to look at the environment as well. I saw the card this time. Thank you.
So if elected, I will focus on community engagement, enhancing and building recreational facilities, and improving accessibility. I've spoken with many of you in Port Elgin during my nightly canvassing, as well as on Facebook and by email. And I've gotten an improved understanding of the interests of our community, and I can honestly say I've learned a lot. I want to leave you with a commitment to be clear-minded, fact-based, and open to challenges, and committed to responsible and respectful constituent representation. If elected, I will represent constituent interests fairly, transparently, and vigorously. I encourage you to read more about me and my platform on Facebook at Rachel Stack, or if you want a more lighthearted approach to politics, you can visit my Instagram at @electrachelstack, though I caution you it's replete with sign puns, so just fair warning. Thank you for attending today, and I hope I can count on your vote next week. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone for coming out tonight. That was a really good debate. There were lots of good questions. I encourage everyone to make sure they go and vote by phone and online, October 17th to the 24th. I want to ensure everyone got their PIN numbers in the mail. Should have been mailed out by October 12th of this past week. And again, to summarize, I'm looking to do investment in our infrastructure. We spend about $5 million a year on infrastructure investment, and as things age and become obsolete, that number will only go up. I also want to ensure that we invest in recreation. We need a new pool, we need a walking track, we will need a new ice rink as well, because there are a lot of young families moving in, and this is what I hear at work every day. I also want to manage development going on in the community, so that we don't get too big too fast and that we can make that sustainable. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Dave, I'm not getting up this time.
I honestly thought we had 2 minutes at the beginning, so here's the second half of my speech. I was getting into some of my breakfast experience. I'm the chair of the Saugeen Shores Police Services Board. I'm a board member with the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority. I chair the United Way Board of Bruce and Gray. Rachel is one of our board members. President of Lake Huron Fishing Club, which I mentioned earlier. And my wife and I are also owners of rental properties, so we're actively participants in the attainable and affordable housing market. I think it's important for council members to have the proper experience, forward-thinking attitude, so that we can continue what we started. So that we can build out our community that will unite us and bring us together. Whether you enjoy working here, family time at the beach, hiking or biking on our extensive trails, canoeing, kayaking on our rivers, paddleboarding on the lake, or fishing on our waters, or just relaxing at home. Our job as a council is to ensure that you can do all of this and more in one of the most enjoyable, finest, and safest places to live in Canada. Thank you, and I hope I can count on your vote.
As your Saugeen Ward Councillor, I will listen to my constituents and bring your needs forward to Council and get our collective voices heard. I am known for my strong advocacy work, having bold conversations with political leaders, and holding people accountable for their words and actions. These are some of my greatest assets. My priorities are small business advocacy, responsible development and protecting our natural assets, and accountable government. Like you, I'm a resident, taxpayer, and voter, and I care about the development of Saugeen Shores for today and future generations. Help me build a better Saugeen Shores for today and the future. Please vote Kimberly Innes Peterson. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to check to see if Yvonne had left. She had another all candidates meeting tonight in Chesapeake. So Lucy, it's yours to finish.
Being part of this beautiful community since 1978 and raising 4 children here, my husband and I are proud to call this home. To be able to serve as a Catholic School Board trustee would be a great way for me to give back. If elected, I will commit to serve in all capacities. To be present, to be a good listener, to be a voice, to be supportive and open to new ideas, and work alongside my team, the board members. I am not alone, and anyone who knows me knows I love students. I would be proud to represent the Catholic school supporters and become part of the Bruce Grey Catholic District School Board team. If you vote for me, you see des bien, you won't be disappointed. Thank you, merci, bonsoir.
Just a couple of comments, and then my partner Heather will close us off tonight. First off, did you know that only 43.5% of all eligible voters voted in last summer's provincial election? That's about the worst it's ever been. At municipal level, in 2018, only 49.23% of Saugeen Shores voters voted. And that was a decrease of 7.5% from 2014. I know I'm speaking to the converted. You're here because I know you're engaged and you're interested. Please try to remind friends and neighbors. I don't think it could be easier by phone or by internet. And if you haven't got your letter in the mail yet, make it a point to call the town tomorrow and make sure you're on that list. Just a couple of comments. First of all, the decision to stand up and run for election is a huge one. It affects, especially at municipal level, there aren't troughs of money coming at you. It's yours. Your families are impacted. If you have children, they are impacted at school, sometimes not nicely. And it's a huge commitment. From the time you decide to register in July or August until the 24th, when you will hear the results. So each and every candidate that's before us tonight, and those that weren't able to be here tonight for very good reasons, deserve our respect and our thanks. Now's a good time to give them a round of applause. I'm also going to ask all of the CFUW women to stand now, please. Thank you. I'm very proud that we were able to offer tonight to our community. We're part of you. We live here too. And it's really important that we were able to engage people in this section of democracy. We did pretty well. Every candidate addressed 5 questions, which, with the exception of our trustee candidates, they only had a couple. But everybody's had a chance for you to see them and get some idea of who they are. Some mentioned websites and Facebook sites and Instagram sites. So you can go there or Google them and find out a little bit more. But you're the informed now. So on your way home tonight, before you forget, because that's what I do, mark down your choices and start voting on the 17th. And my partner in crime, who's been hiding on the other side of the wall, I think you set that up with Dave. Anyway, Heather, I just want to say, without a great partner, working tirelessly from the moment the previous meet was canceled, we would not be here tonight. Thank you, Heather.
So my job is to thank everyone. So first of all, thank you, audience, for coming. Thank you for your excellent questions. And I'm sure some of you in the audience submitted questions to us. We had a plethora of questions. We could have gone on for hours. So that showed great interest, and it made us quite excited to see what came in. So thank you very much. Thank you to the candidates. You were well prepared. I'm sure some of you, or all of you, were very nervous because you never really know what's coming at you. So you did a wonderful job, so congratulations. Thank you to our timers who have been sitting here raising the yellow, raising the red all night. I'm sure they're going to be quite happy to stop doing that, but thank you very much. And our greeters who have been around the room, they greeted you when you came in. They've been wiping the mics, hopefully to keep you safe. And I hope you, oh, Monty, where are you? You're still here. Monty is still here. Good, thank you so much, Monty. And his teacher has been wonderful setting him up for this. So we are very fortunate to have such great young people like Monty in this town and in this vicinity. CFUW, thank you very much. You work very hard, and we're very pleased with what we did tonight, so way to go, ladies. And thank you, everyone, and have a safe ride home, and don't forget to vote.